Another news. I bring you other news. You have to forgive me if I'm not loud enough. It's midnight where I'm at. The news that follows is Guinea-Bissau, Russia. The news about Africa and Russia relationship. It seems like Guinea-Bissau and Russia emerging Atlantic gateway to West Africa. Russia seems to be growing in the West Africa and in Africa in general. By July 16, there was a meeting in Moscow Russia, between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. 16, there was a meeting in Moscow between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Guinea-Bissau Foreign Minister Fatoumata Jaou. Fatoumata Jaou demonstrated that Russia's Africa policy is entering a more commercially driven phase, while political solidarity between Guinea-Bissau and Russia and historical ties remain the foundation of bilateral relations. The relationship between Guinea-Bissau and Russia, political and historical ties remain the foundation of bilateral relations. The discussions focused overwhelmingly on economics, investment, mining, energy, agriculture, fisheries, geological explorations, and business cooperation, according to the official national news agencies of Guinea-Bissau. Agencia de Noticia de Guinea, ANG, more importantly, both ministers openly acknowledged that despite modest improvements, bilateral trade remains far below its real potential. Greetings, KCM Drums. I bring you the news between the relationships of Africa and Russia. The relationship that's happening right now is between Guinea-Bissau and Russia. It seems they are building a tighter relationship between them. For me not to forget, forgive me for my repetition again. I lost the info here for a while. By July 16, there was a meeting in Moscow between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Guinea-Bissau Foreign Minister Fatoumata Jaou. I hope I've respected the pronunciation of that name. Fatoumata Jaou demonstrated that Russia's Africa policy is entering a more commercially driven phase. Between Russia and Guinea-Bissau, the West African country, while political solidarity and historical ties remain the foundation of bilateral relations, the discussions focused overwhelmingly on economics, investment, mining, energy, agriculture, fisheries, geological explorations, and business cooperation between Africa and Russia. And at this point, the point of this is the relationship between Guinea-Bissau and Russia. According to the official national news agency of Guinea-Bissau, more importantly, both ministers from the West African country, Guinea-Bissau, and Russia openly acknowledged that despite modest improvements, bilateral trade remains far below its potential. This frank assessment itself is significant between its shifts of agent from diplomatic symbolism towards measurable economic outcomes. The roadmap announced between Guinea-Bissau and Russia following the talks, including preparations for the first Russia-Guinea-Bissau Business Forum, new investment legislation, expanded geological cooperation, increased support for Russian companies that will be deployed into Guinea-Bissau for the third Russia-Africa Summit in Moscow by October 2026 indicates that Guinea-Bissau is being positioned as more than another African diplomatic partner. Instead, it is gradually emerging as one of Russia's strategic commercial entry point into West Africa. Greetings, 82 Royal Broham Classic 18. I hope I pronounced your username correctly. I'm bringing the news, international news, the relationship between West African countries. A point of the topic right now is Russia and Guinea-Bissau that have bilateral agreements and business ventures between the two countries from the Western African country and Russia that are building in support of each other since the world is changing. This transformation reflects broader changes in Russia's Africa strategy. During the first Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi in 2019, Moscow concentrated on restoring political influence. The second summit in St. Petersburg in 2023 shifted towards food security, fertilizers, education, and humanitarian intelligence, digital infrastructure, payment systems independent of Western reserve currencies. So Russia is shifting itself away from, it doesn't want to rely on Western reserve currencies because the West is being out here bullying countries, making them do whatever they want them to do, according to them, according to their narrative, and according to their power, military power and financial power. If no one is following that, they fall into becoming the victim of the West. Guinea-Bissau fits naturally into each of these priorities because it offers abundant natural resources, a stable investment dialogue with Russia, Moscow, Atlantic maritime access, and membership in some Africa's most important regional economic organizations. And the regional integration multiplies Guinea-Bissau's economic values. Rather than viewing Guinea-Bissau simply as a country of 22 million people, Russian policymakers increasingly appear to view it as a gateway into a regional market of nearly 46 million consumers that the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, would simultaneously providing access to the African Continental Free Trade Area, which ultimately covers more than 1.4 billion people and a combined GDP exceeding US 3.4 trillion. That is in the making by the use of the resources and the people of Africa. This regional multiplier fundamentally changes Guinea-Bissau's strategic values. It will add value to Guinea-Bissau and Russia because they will have a better deal and agreements between them that will shape both countries and better their economies and free them from the West central currencies that bullies the rest of the world. Thank you. That's the news for today. I'll be bringing you more news. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate any small time you give, whether you clicked or you didn't, as long as you contributed some way, somehow. Thank you.